Stella Maria Sarah Miles Franklin. A name that is synonymous with the very best of Australian literature and diverse narratives, through the lens of those who have been recognised as a result of the posthumous establishment of her own literary prize, the Miles Franklin Literary Award. Good afternoon, I'm Cassie McCullagh from The Bookshelf on ABC Radio National and Focus on ABC Sydney. And I'm delighted to be your MC today as we announce the winner of the Miles Franklin Literary Award, Australia's most prestigious literature award for 2021. Welcome to everyone joining us throughout Australia and around the world. I'd like to acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation as the traditional owners and custodians of the land I'm standing on today, and to recognise their connection to land, waters and culture. I also pay my respects to Australia's First Peoples and to their elders past, present and future, and I extend my welcome to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who are watching today. If you're on social media, the hashtag for this event is MFLA2021. That's hash Miles Franklin Literary Award 2021. Please go crazy as we celebrate the winner of this very important literary award. Now, deciding the Miles Franklin shortlist takes dedication and time and energy. So let's also pay special thanks to our panel of judges and their hard work and deliberation. The judges for this year's award are author and literary critic Dr. Bernadette Brennan, book critic Dr. Melinda Harvey, book critic Dr. James Lay, author Sasonki Smang, and finally the State Library of New South Wales Mitchell librarian and the chair of the judging panel, Richard Neville. 96 books were entered this year, so it's a lot of reading to do. I think the interesting thing about this year is perhaps the diversity of entries, and I think we're beginning to see more diverse authors presenting to the Miles Franklin. I think traditionally it's been seen as very much a white man's game. Over the recent years, we've begun to see, obviously, the female quotient increase, but also culturally diverse and Indigenous or First Nations authors entering as well. So we feel that the prize is really beginning to reflect the diversity of Australian literature, and that was one of the things that I think came through this year, just the kind of breadth of topics that were covered. Obviously, a lot of first-time authors, a lot of self-published authors, but also a really strong contingent of well-established and also debut novelists, which is obviously reflected in both the long list and the short list. And of course, it would be remiss of us not to acknowledge the 2020 Miles Franklin Literary Award winner, Tara June Winch, for The Yield. In addition to winning the Miles Franklin, The Yield also won the Prime Minister's Literary Award for Fiction and the Voss Literary Prize in 2020. And excitingly, the film rights for The Yield have been picked up by at least 7 production companies around the world. Congratulations, Tara. So now, to announce this year's winner of the Miles Franklin Literary Award, please welcome Perpetual's Managing Partner of Community and Social Investments, Katrina Fay.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us as we announce and celebrate the winner of the 2021 Miles Franklin Award. I'm Katrina Fay and I'm delighted to be speaking with you today from Wurundjeri land. For more than 60 years, this award has supported authors and fostered Australian literature. When Miles made provision for this award in her will, her aim was to support the advancement, improvement and betterment of Australian literature. She was extremely conscious of the importance of fostering a uniquely Australian narrative, but she was also very much aware of the hardships faced by writers trying to make a living out of their craft. By setting up this award, she hoped to help ease the financial burden of other authors and give them the gift of time to write. The Miles Franklin Literary Award is a great example of the impact one person can have through philanthropic giving. Since first being presented in 1957, over 1.3 million has been distributed to authors. And Perpetual is proud to be trustee of the award and to act as a steward for Miles's vision. Before we move on to the winner announcement, there are a few thank yous I'd like to make to our award partners. In addition to being the trustee of the Miles Franklin Literary Award and managing the funds left in Miles's will, Perpetual is also a champion for the award. Copyright Agency and its Cultural Fund have been incredible supporters of the award since 2004. Thank you for your ongoing support of Australian literature and all of its creators. And thank you to our media partner, the ABC, for the continued coverage and support, and in particular to our MC this evening, Cassie McCullagh. We are thrilled to have you join us again this year, Cassie. And now it's time to recognise all the shortlisted books for the 2021 Miles Franklin Literary Award. In 2021, 96 entries were submitted for the Miles Franklin Literary Award. That field was narrowed down to 12 longlisted titles and then 6 finalists on the shortlist. The 6 novels shortlisted for the 2021 Miles Franklin Literary Award are Aravind Adiga, Amnesty, Pan Macmillan Australia. Speaking on behalf of Aravind tonight is his editor from Picador, Ravi Merchandani.
Every book Aravind has done, he has taken on a new subject or a new challenge as a writer. Aravind will send over drafts on a regular basis. Sometimes feedback is called for and sometimes not. Sometimes he's just kind of marking the progress of his changing of details and so on and so forth.
Robbie Arnott, The Rain Heron, Text Publishing.
I didn't know how to write about the world anymore. I was confused and upset. So I tried writing a fable and creating my own modern myth, seeing if I could do it and seeing if I could write about the world through a mythological lens.
Daniel Davis Wood, At the Edge of the Solid World, Brio Books.
The inspiration for the book as a whole came from panic, came from crisis. I went through a difficult period and I didn't know if I would be able to write or publish another book ever. As I was writing it, I had to be completely uncompromising, really, that it had to have everything that I would want to see myself put into a book if I only had one more shot.
Amanda Laurie, The Labyrinth, Text Publishing.
Something takes a hold of you when you're writing fiction, some image, some scene, some little piece of dialogue. I usually write the first 20,000 words of any novel over and over and over. It's like music. You're kind of tuning up the prose, tuning up the language, and what you want is that sense of absolute conviction.
Andrew Pipos, Luckies, Pan Macmillan Australia.
It's a huge honour to be shortlisted for the Miles Franklin. For a long time I worked other jobs and pursued my writing at night, and work on Luckies felt like a private world. It felt like an extension of the daydreaming that I did as a child. For the book to be published, to be recognised, is very special.
Madeline Watts, The Inland Sea, Pushkin Press.
I hope that some readers come away from the book excited about the possibility of the novel as a form. So often we just do the same thing with it. But I think this is such an interesting moment in history and in literature, and watching how artists respond to the world we live in is really exciting to me.
Please join me in congratulating our 2021 finalists and their publishers. When describing this year's winning novel, the judges said, "Through assured and measured prose, the author's narrative becomes a profound meditation on creation and destruction, time, memory, entrapment, asylum, and community." And the winner of the 2021 Miles Franklin Literary Award is Amanda Laurie for her novel, The Labyrinth. Congratulations, Amanda.
Well, thank you so much. Here we are again in virtual land. Hello to everyone out there, wherever you are. I'm sorry that I can't be with you tonight. In case you're wondering where I am, I'm in northeast Tasmania, a little corner on the coast, on the country of the Palawa Nations. And just this morning I was walking along the headland beside some absolutely beautiful midlands that were left behind by the ancestors of the current Palawa people. I'm very much aware, as Richard Neville said, that the winner of the Miles Franklin Award is the first among equals, one person in a long list of distinguished company. And I want to congratulate all the other writers on the long list and the short list. I'm sure that, like me, they feel that it's an enormous honour to be in such company. And I'm also sure that they are very happy to be associated with that remarkable woman, Stella Miles Franklin, who was one of the great Australian nonconformists. There are so many people to thank. Firstly, the judges, a very distinguished panel. I know how much time and work goes into reading so many books, and in some cases rereading them. I'd also like to thank Perpetual and the Copyright Agency for their unwavering support of this wonderful literary tradition that does so much to keep Australian literature at the forefront and to promote Australian books, who are always competing with an avalanche of overseas and imported titles. So special thanks to them. Thanks to my family for putting up with a very vague and distracted writer. My old friend Jan McKemish used to say, no matter what a writer's doing, they might look like they're cooking a meal, they might look like they're chairing a meeting, but really they're never quite with you. They're always in their head, writing. They can make for very distracted company. So thanks for all the family and friends who've endured that over the years. I'd especially like to thank my agent, Lynn Tranter, who's not only been my agent, but a very good friend for over 30 years. She's nursed me through a few crises in her entirely unflappable way. Thank you, Lynn. Thanks to my publisher, Text Publishing, an Australian company, and one that has always put literary values ahead of commerce. Thank you to my editor, David Winter, who is someone with an uncanny eye for what needs changing, but perhaps even more importantly, what to leave alone. And thanks to everyone at Text who have made the publication of The Labyrinth an absolute joy. And also to the Australian National University, who out of the blue gave me the H.C. Coombs Fellowship and 3 wonderfully quiet, undistracted months working on that beautiful campus. And in that time, I did in fact complete The Labyrinth. Finally, I'd like to thank readers. In the age of Netflix and social media, I find that readers are an indestructible tribe. Writers work for a long time on their own. It's a strange relationship you have with the reader. You don't see them, you don't know them. It's kind of like sending out a message in a bottle, and yet somehow magically, often that bottle comes back and the conversation goes on. And that, in a way, is the best bit, that you meet up with the unknown and you have that rather extraordinary exchange between strangers who, after you've shared a text, are no longer strangers. So once again, thank you very much. This has been a great honour. It means a lot.
Congratulations, Amanda Laurie, on winning the 2021 Miles Franklin Literary Award. And congratulations too to the shortlist and the long list for being recognised in this way. It's a huge achievement, just as it is to publish a novel in the first place. The last 12 months have been an incredible journey. They've given me something I've always wanted, which is a readership that's generous and that write reviews and that buy books as gifts. It has been such an amazing journey. I'm so grateful, and I hope, Amanda, that you have an incredible next 12 months and the rest of your career, and I hope that readers not only discover the beauty of The Labyrinth, but also discover the beauty in your back catalogue too. Congratulations again.
The Labyrinth is, I think, a writer at the peak of her powers. It's obviously, I think, her 7th or 8th novel, and what impressed us about it was really the clarity of its writing. I mean, it is a novel about loss on so many levels. Within that, Amanda's really talking about how one comes to deal with loss and how one comes to heal from those very complex emotions. Amanda's been writing since 1984, when she published the first of her 8 novels. She's been shortlisted twice for the Miles Franklin. This is obviously the 2nd shortlisting, and has won many other literary awards across the span of her career. She's a highly regarded and very well-known Australian writer.
Congratulations again to our 2021 winner, Amanda Laurie, and to all of the shortlisted authors and their publishers. Thank you also to Katrina and Richard and Tara. That's the end of our official proceedings today. Can I take this one last opportunity to thank our judging panel, Richard Neville, Dr. Bernadette Brennan, Dr. Melinda Harvey, Dr. James Lay, and Sasonki Samang. And of course, to our award partners, Perpetual, Copyright Agency, and the ABC. And thank you for being part of this event. Don't forget to use that hashtag MFLA2021 and get the word out there about these amazing authors and the Miles Franklin Literary Award. I look forward to seeing you again next year.
At Perpetual, we're very proud as trustee to have a role in acting as a steward for the vision that Miles had to ensure that Australian life in all of its phases is appropriately represented and celebrated in literature.
Let me begin in my father's house. I grew up in an asylum, a manicured madhouse. The lawns were kept trim and the flower beds in bloom all year round. My father, Kenneth Marsden, was the chief medical officer, meaning he was a psychiatrist, and unlike his colleagues who were happy to escape the institution as soon as their roster hours had expired, Ken chose to live within the compound. Today I am returning for the first time. The skies are washed out blue and the narrow road in is flanked on either side by bleached pasture land. The grass faded to straw, the sheep clustering under a Lebanese cedar. I park beside an abandoned building, its windows broken, its tin guttering left to sag and flap in the breeze. And after a long drive I'm hungry. And I look for the asylum church that has been converted now into a cafe. Its rustic timber cladding is weathered, but the roof looks new, its eaves and finials freshly painted white. This is the place where I knew my mother, knew her for the first and last time.